70953 135-70953 שומעים? מעולה.
Since the horrific Hamas massacre of October 7th, Israel is at war. It is a war that we did not start and we did not seek. Hamas massacred over 1,400 Israelis, babies, women, young girls, young men, children, the elderly, the disabled. He massacred them all. We will not forget that. Hamas also holds over 240 hostages, men, women, children, babies, the elderly, and the disabled. Today marks 30 days of holding of a 9-month-old baby hostage, Kfir Bivas. Now he's 10 months old. My young boy just turned a year a couple of days ago. Kfir Bivas is holding by Hamas in Gaza. It's unimaginable. It's a crime against humanity with other many children. Hamas commits crimes, war crimes, against Israelis, but also against the Gazan themselves. Hamas cynically uses civilians in Gaza as human shields. They kill their own people. This isn't just a terror tactic. Human shields are a key pillar in Hamas's operations. Until now, over 800 rockets are launch failed that landed inside Gaza and killed many Gazans. Today, I will be sharing evidence proving that Hamas systematically exploits hospitals as part of its war machine. We already shared evidence that Hamas operates command and control centers inside and under Shifa Hospital. We decided to declassify and share more sensitive intelligence with you because the world must take immediate action against that. We are at war with Hamas, not with the civilians in Gaza. We have been calling on civilians in northern Gaza and Gaza City to temporarily move south of Wadi Gaza to a safer area, away from Hamas strongholds. We are monitoring the movement of the population through our humanitarian corridors and increasing our calls to the areas that have lower rates of evacuation. Here is a recent analysis of our evacuation efforts. Here you can see the millions of times we urged the residents of Gaza to move south. This is an addition to the effort that my unit made in the media and the social media and in the social networks, in Arabic also, in other languages, on many channels. Here you saw just how big this effort was and still is. As you can see here, Israeli intelligence has been working around the clock to reach as many people as possible. The Israeli Air Force dropped over 1.5 million flyers, like these ones here. The Israeli Air Force prioritized our evacuation effort over other missions. Prioritize evacuation effort over other missions. This is an example of a flyer urging the residents of Gaza to move to safer areas. Each new flyer had its own color and to indicate that it was new warning, more urgent call, and updates the corridors to move south. Let's watch how it looks like.
أيضا وصلني الآن أحد المناشير وهو هنا سقط في مستشفى الشفاء، والذي يقول به الجيش الإسرائيلي إلى سكان مخيم الشاطئ: جيش الدفاع يطالبكم بالإخلاء الفوري من الشمال القطاع إلى المنطقة الإنسانية. وهذا طبعا نحن تعودنا عليه في تلك الأيام الماضية. هذا أحد المناشير التي ألقتها الطائرات الإسرائيلية والتي تطالب سكان منطقة مخيم الشاطئ بالتوجه إلى المنطقة الجنوبية من القطاع.
As you see, a journalist showed the IDF flyer explaining it to its viewers in Arabic. Gazan listened to approximately 6 million recorded phone messages in Arabic. I will now play for you one of the recorded messages that we sent to the residents of Jabalia, this place that civilians were being held by Hamas, urging them to evacuate south.
عليكم إخلاء بيوتكم فورا والتوجه إلى المناطق الموجودة جنوب وادي غزة. جيش الدفاع الإسرائيلي غير معني بالمساس بكم وبأفراد عائلاتكم. كل من يتواجد بالقرب من الإرهابيين أو بالقرب من مراكزهم ومنشاتهم سيعرض حياته للخطر. كما أن البيت الذي يستخدم على يد المنظمات الإرهابية سوف يتم استهدافه.
Israel wants civilians to move away, to move from Hamas strongholds. Gazans should not be used as human shields by Hamas. We made almost 20,000 personal calls. People were from Israel on the other side of the line. Live phone calls to neighborhood by neighborhood to keep people in those areas, including Jabalia. Like this phone call here, we made in the last few weeks to a resident in Jabalia.
في كل منطقة جبالية، كل الناس الموجودين في منطقة جبالية مش بس فيكم. نعطي إنذار قبل الوقت لكل الناس في المنطقة لتنتهوا بصورة آمنة. كل جبالية، كل جبالية، المعسكر، المدارس، كل جبالية. أيوة، ماشي. كل هاي المنطقة حتى المدارس راح يكونوا مكان غير آمن بالمرة. كل القطاع يعني كل جبالية. كل جبالية وحتى المدارس. حتى المدارس. ماشي. أوكي، عينوا الجهود التي تولى مكان آمن أكثر لكم.
Hamas is weak without human shields. Is weak. Hamas is actively stopping Gazans from moving to a safer area. Here is a call we declassified with a resident of Gaza. He's giving a testimony of how Hamas prevents Gazan from evacuating.
عندك السيارات شيل صوب ما يمشي على الجنوب. نحن بالنار النقطة على الجنوب بالنار. ايش نعمل؟ أول شيء مين رجعك على الشمال؟ أنت بتعرف إذا رجعنا، أنا ما بقدرش أحكي، أنت بتعرف مين رجعنا. بس كثير ناس بيطلعوا على الجنوب وما بيرجعون. إنما الطيارات بلفوا طلبة التنفيذ، مش عندنا طيارات. انت شفت وسمعت هذا الشيء، انت شفت وسمعت. احنا في المدارس كيف المدارس.
And I want to show you how Hamas blocks the road. Hamas tries to prevent Gazans from moving south. They put roadblock to stop civilians from leaving Jabalia. I want to be clear. The IDF adjusted our ground operations to keep the corridors from the north to the south open. But Hamas is attacking our forces like yesterday that opened this corridor. This is why we had to stop the corridor yesterday. Hamas was attacking our forces with anti-tank missiles on this road, preventing the corridor to be open. Hamas tries to prevent Gaza from moving south. This is what we are doing. Now let's look at what they are doing. We know Hamas hides behind civilians in Gaza. Hamas places forces and weapons inside, under, and around schools, mosques, homes, and UN facilities. Among the worst of Hamas war crimes is the use of hospitals to hide their terror infrastructure. We already revealed Hamas Command and Control Center under the Shifa Hospital. Now let's talk about two more hospitals. Hamas uses hospitals to disguise their war machine is systematic. The Sheikh Hamad bin Khalifa Al Thani Hospital is located north of the Gaza city along the coast. Its construction was funded by the Qatari government and it's called the Qatari Hospital. Here you can see the IDF soldiers exposing a tunnel opening. This is part of an operation, a ground operation that was conducted on the hospital, then revealed a tunnel that was being used for terror infrastructures in the Qatari hospital. If it wasn't enough, this tunnel, if it wasn't enough that we expose the tunnel under the hospital, the terrorists also shoot at our soldiers from within the hospital. I will now play a video for you taken recently from Qatari hospital. You will see Hamas terrorists firing at the IDF soldiers from the inside of the hospital, a hospital funded by Qatar. We already released evidence of Hamas' use of Shifa Hospital to shield its terror complex. And Hamas uses the Qatari hospital for terror as well. Today, we will also release evidence that the Indonesian hospital is being used by Hamas to hide the underground command and control center. This is an Indonesian hospital. This picture was taken in 2023. You can see the hospital structures in south of the roundabout of both sides of the road. The hospital is located in northern Gaza between Jabalia and Bet Hanun. The construction of the hospital was funded by several NGOs from Indonesia. I will show you the reason why they built the hospital there. This picture here was taken in 2010 when the hospital was under construction. Take a look here at the area in red. They were Hamas terror outposts. Unsurprisingly, Hamas built the hospital on top of their terror infrastructures. Those outputs of Hamas had underground facilities before they started to construct the hospital, the Indonesian hospital. there are three important areas to point out. The first area is the collection of cement materials here. You can see here arches. These arches are very, very unique. It's a unique structure. It's only used for underground terror facilities for Hamas. These cement arches are not needed when building hospitals. They are used to build underground city of terror, an underground metro of tunnels. We have watched Hamas use these arches to build tunnels for many years. Instead of building homes for Gazans, he built this metro over hundreds of kilometers underneath Gaza and underneath places like hospitals and mosques. They are building underground terror infrastructures for Hamas. Here you can see the entrance to an underground tunnel. Hamas used this tunnel to access their command and control complex under the hospital. This is all satellite, and of course all these images and intelligence and more was shared with other agencies to confirm what I'm showing you now. Now let's take a look at the hospital in 2020. You can see that the cement materials, including the arches, are no longer above the ground. Done. It's all underneath the ground. This is a satellite image of the hospital complex taken after the massacre of 7th of October. I'm going to zoom in on the area here. Okay? Across the street. Only 75 meters, 80 meters to the hospital. Here, the IDF identified a launch pad, meaning they launch rockets from here. I want to repeat it. They launch rockets on Israel 75 meters from an hospital. Why? They know precisely that if Israel will airstrike a launch pad like that, the hospital would be damaged. And this was part, of course, of the outpost before in 2010. This architecture of underground facility, including launch pads. Here you see layer by layer how Hamas systematically built the Indonesian hospital to disguise its underground terror infrastructure. And we see that they use the area around the hospital as a base for terror against Israel today. Now I want to reveal evidence that Hamas steals fuel from the Indonesian hospital. Next, we will listen to a phone call from November 2nd with an official closely affiliated to Hamas terror organization. Let's listen.
نازلين نقص صورة ونقص صورة ولا عنده نقص شيء. الصورة اللي عم بوصل لسه على الشفا وعلى اندونيسيا وعلى مصر ولا الرئيسي وصلوا من مين؟ هذول راح بتكون في الخط. هذول المسؤولين اللي حكيت لك عنهم. بس المستشفيات عم بتقول لي انه عم بوصلوا لهم اياهم تعرف ناس اللي بتيجي تتبرع عراي. السؤال في منه ولا هذا كمان لعب بيلعبوها ناس؟ كذابين. انا حكيت لك امبارح كيف انت بتشغل بتروح الشمس في سيارات او محطات من عند البنزين وصلاح. انا شو عايز يقدر المستشفى ولا المحطه والموتوسيكل والسيارات واللي مين انت فريق مكان.
This phone call and others can be authenticated and verified by other agencies that we send them more materials that I cannot reveal here. Agency of the United States and United Kingdom will verify these materials. This call that we intercepted reveals a few things. While Hamas screamed to the world about a lack of fuel, there is no shortage of fuel in Gaza. Hamas has the fuel. It's in the hands of Hamas. The leadership and the member of Hamas are lying. Hamas has fuel. Hamas stores this fuel underneath hospitals in Gaza, the very hospital that Hamas tells the world's running out of fuel. I will now share one last audio recording with you that we intercepted. Hamas
إذا كان يخفف في الشمال أندية تأكيدي الفكرة هذول بتكفي بس بكرة بس بالباقي والفتشات والسيارات تاعتي الآن كأنها تقريبا 4 أيام من عدة أسرار من خدام الاتصالات يعني فش هذه ساحبة عقد جاي امبارح ساحبة كلها يسمى صاير البريد بعدين بس بنحدد يعني الحين احنا كلهم زي ما في لكن خلينا ان شاء الله خير هاي مشكلة.
Hamas moves fuel from the hospital to terrorists. Okay? In Jabalia, meaning moving it from Shifa to Jabalia. From Shifa hospital to Jabalia. The same Jabalia that Ibrahim Biari, the murderous commander, was killed. They move fuel to Jabalia because Jabalia is a terror center. They steal the fuel from the hospital, the fuel terror infrastructure. Finally, I want you to see Hamas in their own words.
البعض يتساءل وهذا سؤال رائج وشائع يعني من قام بتشييد 500 كيلومتر من الأنفاق لماذا لم يشيد مآوي يلجأ إليها المدنيون خلال القصف؟
نعم شيدنا الأنفاق لأنه لا نملك ما ندفع به عن أنفسنا من القتل والاستهداف. هذه الأنفاق من أجل أن نحمي أنفسنا من الطائرات، نحمي مقاتلين من الأنفاق. أما القطاع غزة فأنت تعلم والجميع يعلم بأنه 75% منه لاجئين، واللاجئين هو مسؤولية الأمم المتحدة في حمايتهم، مسؤولية الاحتلال في أن يقدم كل تبعا لاتفاقية جنيف الدولية أن يقدم لهم كل الخدمات وهم تحت الاحتلال.
This is Abu Marzouk, just from the 27th of October. Human shields are a key pillar of Hamas terror operations. Hamas systematically exploits hospitals as a key part of its war machine. This is the murderous organization we are dealing with. Hamas doesn't even try to hide it. They say it out loud and it's loud and clear. Here is Hamas leader Abu Marzouk a few days ago on TV interview confirming that Hamas builds tunnels in hundreds of kilometers to protect its terrorists. Who's above? The innocent civilians are above. But more than that, he admits that Hamas is not responsible for the civilians in Gaza. It's the world's problem, they say. They don't even hide their logic of using human shields as a part of their terror and war machine. Hamas is hiding behind hospitals. Hamas is sickly exploiting hospitals to disguise its war machine. Our war is with Hamas, not with the civilians of Gaza. We will not accept Hamas' cynical use of hospital to hide their terror infrastructure. I want to repeat. We will not accept Hamas's cynical use of hospitals to hide their terror infrastructures. Hamas exploitation of hospital must come to an end. Be happy to answer your questions.
Just to start here, when it comes to what you're showing here, I think part of the issue when it comes to journalists like us is that we're hearing you say this, but is there more things that you can do to allow the media in our situation to go in and listen to some of these phone calls firsthand? I mean, I hear what you're saying, you're putting these things out there, but I think for us, we would love the ability to be able to verify ourselves. I know you're saying the United States can verify this, the UK can verify this, but what about members of the media being able to go in and listen to some of these phone calls and be able to do that ourselves?
I'll be ready to examine whatever we can off record to provide, as long as it doesn't bring us to a problem in intelligence during a war. But we will provide everything we can in order to show you. And this is the on record, on camera, with questions. This is what I can share, we're sharing a lot of more of this material, more intimate material, with all the agencies in order to be authentic and verified, like the El Ali El Mahamadani, that we took our time to make sure we're credible, we're correct, we verified it, we gave it to the agencies to make sure that we're right, and only then we came out publicly.
And let me just follow up here. I mean, I see what you're saying about you're telling civilians to move, you're telling them to go south, but we also hear you say Hamas is preventing people from going south. So as long as that's happening, but Israel continues to strike these targets with airstrikes, with artillery, the simple fact is that civilians are going to keep dying. And that's, I think, what so many people around the world are saying, is that Israel is knowingly doing this, knowing that civilians are going to die. So what would you say to that, in the sense that there's just no way that civilians are not dying as long as Israel continues to do this?
I want to answer it. It's a good question. I think it's important that the world will understand it. We did not start this war. On October 7th, we slept in our bed, in our quiet homes, babies, women, children, and we had a massacre of thousands of terrorists entering into Israel, killing babies, burning families, burning young men. This is a war we did not start it, we did not seek. But now we're at war. We're going to defeat Hamas. We're going to free our hostages, 240. Some of them are worlds from all over around the world. We're going to free our hostages. It's a top priority. And we're going to defeat Hamas, and we're going to free Gaza from Hamas.
Sophie, Effie, you say we won't accept the cynical use of hospitals by Hamas. What does that mean?
This is a war crime, and the world knows it's a war crime. It's against the international law, using hospitals as terror infrastructures. It must come to an end. I will not say more, but it must come to an end.
Paola, Global News.
So you exposed some information about the hospitals, but what about the ambulances? So the ambulances that were attacked yesterday, the Red Crescent said that their staff was almost hurt. The Secretary General of the United Nations said he was horrified by the attack. The World Health Organization said that patients, workers of health should be protected, and Doctors Without Borders also said that it was terrible and that this kind of event should not happen. Are all of these organizations also in collusion with Hamas, or what?
Our strikes are based on intelligence. I repeat, our strikes are based on intelligence, and I'm sure that those organizations sometimes do not know the intelligence we have. And I want to make sure that you understand that the cynical use of Hamas is not just in hospitals, it's also in ambulances. It's a cynical use of a way to use human shields of civilians and to show the world that we've struck them, because they do a cynical use of hospitals and ambulances, and they want to gain the world's sympathy and the deaths of others and show Israel in their face. It's a war we did not start it. We did not want this war. They started a massacre on the 7th of October. We are working, and we will keep on working according to the international law.
The Red Crescent said that they were taking patients to the south.
We are attacking and striking based on intelligence.
Claire Day, CBS.
Hi there. Can I ask a strategic military question, please?
Yes.
Now that you have, say that you have encircled Gaza City, what does the next phase of your operation look like? And if I could just follow up with that and say, and ask, how does that strategy affect your release of hostages?
We are now focusing in our ground operation in the north for the moment. We are focusing on the north for the moment. And this ground operation is to defeat Hamas and we have another goal beside defeat Hamas, and you mentioned it, to free our hostages and also to free Gaza from Hamas. It's going to take us a long time. We have to maneuver our plan in order to set with the goals. This is the goal, is to defeat Hamas, to free our hostages, and to free Gaza from Hamas. It will take us a long time. Now we're focusing on the north for the moment, but we will strike Hamas leaders wherever they are. Okay, so repeating it again, we will strike Hamas leaders wherever they are. We are focusing now on the north, and we will adapt our plan in order to stay with the goals. It's going to take us a long time.
AJ, CBS Korea.
So just a question is because you strike the ambulance and you strike the facility based on intelligence. Do you have any intelligence of how many patients that they're in those hospitals, and if they're like, how could you remove them before striking?
Again, I want to repeat, we strike based on intelligence. We do not want to strike hospitals and ambulances. We are a country that follows the international law, and we are dealing with a murderous organization that did a massacre on the 7th of October. We will not forget the massacre. I hope the world will not forget the massacre of the 7th of October. We came up in the morning, waking up, and babies were killed in their beds, and young women were burnt alive in a music festival. We will not let the world forget that. And we will not let the world forget Kfir Bivas, a baby after 30 days being held in Gaza. Okay? And afterwards, after that, it's a war we did not start and did not seek. And now we're fighting. We're fighting to defeat Hamas, to free our hostages, and to free Gaza from Hamas.
Thank you. A slightly different subject, but important. Former Chief of Staff Aviv Kochavi is, as known, still a soldier in uniform. What's his involvement in current action and operations, if at all? And if not, why? And a related question, the current Chief of Staff, Halevi, and also other senior officers stood in front of the media and the public, took responsibility for what happened, and answered questions. We didn't see former Chief of Staff Kochavi do that. Why? And do you think he should do that in the next days?
General Halevi is the current Chief of Staff. He is the commander. He's the one that will stand and talk to the public and will talk to the media. He already did it a couple of times. It's a war that he is conducting, and General Halevi is, like you mentioned, he's going to retire in a couple of months, and now he's doing different kind of things. Kochavi. General Kochavi is going to retire in a couple of months, and what he's doing now, I can answer you in a different place. I don't think it's the right. It's the right.
Involvement?
No.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. You wanted to ask me something else?